Now, Britain is introducing quarantine-free travel for 60 low-risk countries. But for now, it will only apply to those arriving in England. The move takes effect from next Friday, with Germany and Spain among countries in the first wave of agreements. For more, Ollie Barrett joins us from London. Ollie, what are some of the considerations behind this list of countries?
The UK has been looking at the prevalence and the infection rate when it comes to COVID-19 in the countries that it wants to put on the list considered safe. It's also been looking at the test, track and trace system that those countries have in place as well. And that is how they've come to this list of 50 or 60 odd countries that we expect now people will be allowed to come to England without quarantine, and also British people will be able to go to those countries and return without quarantining when they get back to an English airport. Now, many people have criticised the government's quarantine policy throughout and have wondered why the UK, with the size of the outbreak that it's had here, considers that it should be the one deciding which countries are safe and which are not. It's been trying to work out a number of bilateral agreements. That was harder than expected, and so what appears to be happening is a sort of traffic light system. Green means countries that Britain considers safe and no quarantine required coming into England, but those countries, New Zealand has been raised as one example already, aren't putting a reciprocal deal in place. And then there are the amber countries that are reciprocating. France, Italy, Spain, countries like that, so that UK holidaymakers can go on holiday this European summer and come home without needing to quarantine when they get back.
Ollie, the arrangement applies to arrivals in England. What about Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland then?
Well, they are not signed up as yet. I mean, there is still time to do so. Grant Shapps, the Transport Secretary, has made the point that July the 10th, when this all starts, does give a little bit of leeway. But the devolved administrations of Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have been pretty critical at times about how the central government in London has gone about this. And so they are not ready to sign up just yet. As I say, they may come on board by July the 10th. In terms of those countries that we think are going to be on the list or off the list, it does look like Singapore will be one of those countries considered safe, and therefore people will not need to quarantine coming into England from Singapore. Countries not on the list in the red zone include, we understand, the United States.
Ollie, with pubs and bars set to reopen in the UK tomorrow, tell us a bit more about the significant measures, as they've been described, in place to handle the crowd.
Yeah, so there are restrictions in terms of how many people can be in one establishment at one time. There are restrictions on how far tables need to be apart from each other. People arriving in pubs and bars and restaurants will be asked on a voluntary basis to provide their contact details, so that if an outbreak is traced back to an individual who's been in one of these establishments, then also other people who've been in that pub or bar or restaurant can be contacted as well and may need to self-isolate as a result. We've also just heard from the government that pubs are going to be allowed to open from 6 a.m. UK time on Saturday. Now, some say that is irresponsible and is asking for trouble. Others say that that spreads the opening time out across the day and means that the prospect of trouble is less likely. Polling actually suggests that as many as 75% or so of the British population don't plan to immediately rush to one of Britain's iconic pubs. So it remains to be seen exactly how people are going to behave, how many people are going to want to go out and get themselves a drink or a bite to eat. Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, is telling people not to overdo it.
All right, thanks for that. Ollie Barrett speaking to us from London.